Hi there, Vicky here. So today's video is about installing my second raised bed into this very, very steep hill in my backyard. So obviously we're just jumping right into it, but the first thing I needed to do was shore up my little steps that I dug out for myself because I'm going to be kind of going up and down this quite a bit, and I didn't want to continue to fall down the hill. So I dug that one out a little bit more, and then here where the shorter grass is growing, not the native grasses, um, there were no little steps that I dug the other day, so I made two for myself here. But I didn't want to get rid of that grass because the landscapers, in this new house had put that in. So I thought, I can probably reuse it somewhere else in the yard. So I just kind of set it over here on the patio until I'm ready for it. Um, Now, that bottom step, I did need to fill it in a little bit, and the ground was quite wet over there. It had rained a couple of days, so it wasn't as stable as I would have preferred. So I kind of thought on that a little bit. And then I put a couple of the native grasses that I just dug out from that other step down at the bottom. And so my hope is that they will grow there and shore up where the ground was not quite as firm as I would have liked there on the side. Um, then it was time for me to go inside and get the next raised bed that I was going to install because I don't measure exactly, and I do have a rough plan on how far apart I'm going to space these, but I needed the raised bed in order to measure that out. So I grabbed it from the garage, and then I started sort of blocking out where it was going to go. My shovel was having a really hard time cutting through the dense grasses, so I tried to pull up some of the dead leaves from those grasses in order to help make it easier to cut through. Um, the very most top of this bed, where I installed the first raised bed last week, is all sand, and it was really easy to dig through. But this layer, which is about 4 or 5 feet, maybe 6 feet further down the hill from the top, is not sand. um, at least not only sand, and it was much harder to try to dig through. So I struggled quite a bit to just get the first few shovelfuls so that I had a ledge on which to stand, because it's very difficult. There, I go falling a little bit. It's very difficult to balance myself in order to get a good like foothold on that shovel when the ground is so steep. um, so after I got that little standing platform there, it was easier for me to go ahead and start digging it and expanding that platform so that it'll be big enough for the raised bed. So I knew I had, of course, about 4 feet across to dig, so I just kind of kept going. I did put some of the sand or dirt that I'm pulling out of this into the raised bed on the top. The slope is actually so steep that if I put the loose sand just above where I'm digging, it was just falling right back down into the hole. So I put it in the raised bed for now, so that it had a place to go while I was trying to dig and block out the second bed. Now, in hindsight, do I have regrets of my choice there? A little bit, definitely, because I will now have to get all that soil out of there. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that. So, yes, little regrets, but it's going to be fine. Every time that I dug out just like a huge grass chunk, grass plant, whatever. I tried to just save it and set it aside so that anytime I hit these sort of spots as I'm trying to install these beds that it doesn't feel quite firm, I'm hoping to just replant those native grasses so they can continue to hold the hill up. I figure if these grasses have been holding up this steep hill for who knows how long, they can continue to do that as long as I didn't kill them by digging them up. I think different varieties of native grasses from my region have really long roots. So it's entirely possible that by digging these up, I have destroyed them. But if not, I'm going to try to just replant them in other areas of the hill so that they can help me hold the hill up. So I was getting close to how much I needed to dig out in order to get the bed in. You can see I keep kind of pulling the bed up to measure the hole that I've dug. And there in the corner, I was just struggling to get rid of a little piece of the soil, and it was like a root block of one of those chunks of grasses in order to make space for the end of the raised bed. So, yeah, struggling just a little bit, but such is life. So, then I continued on. I'm trying to even up the back side of this hole that I'm digging so that it will be flush with the side of the raised bed. And now I get to the point where I start taking some of the soil that I'm removing and I move it towards what will be the front of the raised bed in order to flatten the ground there. Because due to the slope, I'm not really able to dig so far deep that the raised bed is like fully buried in the hill. So the bottom of the bed I do have to build up a little bit so that the bed itself becomes level. I hope that's making sense. So anywho, I start tossing some of the dirt there on the front so that it can build up that platform for my raised bed a little bit more. There we go, almost fallen again. Every time you see my arm just flail up, that's because I almost fell over. But I use my body weight to flatten the earth. And I'll continue to work on that to make sure that the hill is stable, especially as it rains over time. But once I dug out enough for this raised bed, I did do a little exercise, going kind of up and down, eyeballing it to make sure that it is level. I did not break out a level for this. I just, what does it look like? And this is kind of where the regret starts sinking in terms of what I did with that excess dirt. But for now, we'll call this two raised beds installed, and we just have 10 more to go.